Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gary and Kenny Show. I'm Gary Kroger, and I am in Waterloo, Iowa. I am joined by Mr. Kenneth Seisler in Calabasas, California.
Yes, that's true.
Ken?
Hello.
I'm going to ask you how you are. However, my wife, who watches the show, said, "Do you realize
how I was?"
She said, "Do you realize that you start the show the same way? How are you, Kenny? How's the weather?" And she said, "It's getting a little dull and mundane."
Good point.
You know what she said? That I need to be nicer to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you feel that way?
No, not at all. I like it when you're rough.
Well, I think she thinks I antagonize you on purpose, or make fun of you, or say that you whine too much, or
if you enjoy it and I enjoy it, and it's mutually, consenting.
Okay.
Adults.
So Kenny, hi, how are you?
Well, you know what? I am not only great, and I'm sure I'm going to edit this part out because it's probably inappropriate.
No, don't ever edit.
But not only am I well, but Wendell as well.
Wendell as well?
Who's Wendell?
Who's Wendell?
Wendell is the name I have for my private part.
For real?
Yeah. You don't have a name for your private part?
I do, but you cannot
You're not
edit
tell
this
us?
out. Well, sure I will. I will. But I want to make it very clear. This is not to be edited out.
Well,
if you look at this later and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I told everybody my penis is named Wendell." I have had a name for my penis since I was in high school because I thought a French name, Le Pierre, would be appropriate. So he's always been Pierre.
The Pierre. Le Pierre.
Yeah. In fact, we'll come up to this later, but I have a French name that I introduced Pat Bullard.
Oh, we can talk about your penis and my penis.
Gave away our guest's name, but I used to call him Patrick Bullard. And he doesn't remember this, but that's how I would introduce him in audience warm-up. But we'll get into that later. Talk about your penis.
So I have in my backyard one of those swinging porch things.
Okay.
And this morning, and I know
I like where this is going.
I know it's cold as hell. It must be in Iowa. It's 75 degrees and beautiful and sunny here in California. And I saw the sun was shining on my swinging porch, and I went out in my robe, just my robe. And I sat down in my robe, and I was sitting there having my coffee, and sun felt so good on me. It occurred to me
that Wendell,
he hasn't seen the sun, and I don't know when.
Okay.
I allowed Wendell. I let him out to get a little sun. Just allowed. And by the way, the little slit that he's a little smile. I showed like a little smile.
Where does Wendell have a smile? On
the little slit you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm well, and Wendell is well. He had a little sun this morning.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And you notice I laughed and I coughed. I think we should explain to people and our guests that I am COVID positive. And that's very sobering after Wendell's happy morning. But as you know, Kenny, I tested positive for COVID. So I've been in personal lockdown for the last several weeks. So how are you, Gary, right? How are you in Pierre?
Well, not only that, has COVID affected your penis at all?
I have no interest in my penis.
See, they don't talk about that.
No, they don't talk about that. But, just as sort of a public service announcement, because COVID is so prevalent and it's at 40% going up to 60% with this new variant. I'm an asthmatic, so I was particularly worried about COVID. And in fact, I had 2 days where it just kept getting worse, and every day I can get stung by a bee and it goes into my lungs because of my asthma. So I really started to panic. But just so you know, I'm triple vaxxed and I'm a masker. I feel that has given me the advantages to where I have worked out of it very, very quickly. In fact, the only remaining aspect is the cough when I laugh at Wendell.
Well, I think actually having the virus, this Omicron, now you're going to be like really vaccinated.
Well, I'm like super. Right. I'm a COVID Superman, right? Yeah, triple vaxxed.
I may go out. I may go out and get some Omicron myself.
So, well, which probably should lead us to our guest, because we always have a little bit of a pre-talk before the show.
I think he just said he doesn't want to come on the show. He just texted me.
Pat said, "Hey, do I have to edit myself?
I'll tell you that.
Do I have to edit myself?" I said, "No. First thing you're talking about is your weather-exposed penis." And so I think that he should feel very, very comfortable.
Well, we're going to have to find out what he calls his penis.
Well, we'll ask him. We'll ask him. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is comedian, actor, writer, television host Pat Bullard. His writing credits are extraordinary. They're Roseanne, Reba, Grace Under Fire, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, Last Man Standing. He hosted Love Connection, Card Sharks, which is a personal favorite that we'll talk about. And somehow he got the lead role in a talk show called The Pat Bullard Show. Go figure.
Good
Ladies
thing
and
they got
gentlemen,
Pat Bullard to do that show.
Oh, yes. Welcome, please, Mr. Pat Bullard.
Thank you,
Hey,
gentlemen.
Pat.
Thank you.
Thank
Now,
you for
Gary,
doing
if
the
your
show.
wife had any sense of comedy or timing, when you said, I have no interest in my penis, she should have stuck her head in and said, join the club.
Which would have been lovely, Pat. But my wife is in Chicago. She wants no part of
then,
COVID Gary
but
either.
please let her know that joke can be set up at a later time.
If and she will. She'll use that quite often. Pat, how are you, buddy?
I'm well, guys. Thank you very much.
You're out here in
I'm,
Southern California,
I'm also,
too.
Kenny, I'm in Calabasas.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, we should
Yeah,
talk
but given
afterwards.
your,
We'll get more specific.
now that I've heard about your swing, I'm thinking of moving.
No, Kenny has to
Wendell
stay
hanging
100
out.
yards away from you anyway. I want to open this up with a real quick Pat Bullard anecdote. And I was the audience warm-up guy and the announcer.
And the announcer.
For Card Sharks. And of course, I never announced you on the show as Patrick Bullard, but I used to say that to the audience and you'd come out. You don't remember. It was long ago, Pat.
It rings a bell, my friend.
I have to tell you something. I auditioned for Card Sharks and they said, well, you did a great job, Gary, and we like the work that you've done, but we're really hoping that Pat Bullard does this. And I would hear that all the time wherever I went. I hope that Pat Bullard does this. So I got the job as the announcer for the show and I did audience warm-up. And I have to tell you something, my friend. You set the bar. I looked at you and I watched you with an audience, tall and handsome and funny. You would smile and women would swoon, no lie. And you were so good that I thought, well, of course I didn't get the job. I had done several game shows as a host, but I thought I am nowhere near this guy. I'm not in your league.
Well,
But what do you have to say for yourself, Pat?
Yeah. I can't tell you. I can't tell you, my friend, how flattering that is because it was a strange gig. As you may recall, they never really got the game set up the way they wanted the game to go. Cut to 9/11. 9/11, our show is launching the next day, 9/12.
Oh, wow.
9/11, I'm doing a satellite call to a TV station in Boston. They've got like 19 calls lined up for that morning. And it's me, and it's Louis Anderson, and it's John, the dog show guy.
Oh, the Gong Show guy?
No, dog show.
Oh, dog show guy. I don't remember the dog.
He was doing To Tell the Truth from Seinfeld.
Oh.
I'm so glad you don't remember.
Look, we're all at a certain age.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. So the three of us are watching as the world is falling apart. We're in this satellite studio down in LA. We got there at 6 a.m. and then we heard something kind of weird on the news. And then we're watching. Now we're on air. Now I go on air to plug Card Sharks. And the woman's asking me about Card Sharks, but she's honestly seems a little distracted. Not as interested in Card Sharks as the studio might have wanted. And I, too, am in the background. Now, on the monitors, I see me talking about Card Sharks, but also I see the towers. The towers are burning. It was the most surreal.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Awful situation. And just sitting there stunned, me and Louis Anderson and what happened in
And the dog guy trying to be glib, right?
Well, there was
or you can't be, but that was the idea.
It was probably the only situation in the world where people like us would just sit there
stunned
in stunned silence. And
I actually forgot that was at the same time.
And
it
therefore,
makes sense now.
all people wanted to see after 9/11 was Seinfeld. That's all they wanted. Seinfeld reruns. And it killed in syndication because nobody wanted to think about anything other than these guys who feel like family.
Wow. But you had done, how many game shows have you done, Pat?
I've done probably 5 or 6. The one that got away for me was Love Connection. That was the one I most enjoyed. I was most suited for. It was so fun to interview these people, because I had done a talk show in New York, but that wasn't setting television on fire either. And I didn't want to interview another CW actor about another sitcom that nobody's watching. Love Connection was fun. Love Connection was just, you could knock it out of the park every interview. And the ratings were great. Unfortunately, they didn't like the executive producer, Eric Lieber, who owned the show. He's gone now. Thank God.
well, Pat, I want to mention, and I'm not trying to talk about myself. This is about you. But I, at the same time, or just a year before, was doing the new Newlywed Game,
Right,
which I loved. Because just as you were saying, my job was to talk to people who just got married, have a blast, and give them cash and prizes. I mean, that's a really good job.
Well, a good job in so many ways, Gary, because also look at, when we did Love Connection, we did 5 shows on Thursday, went home, did 5 shows on Friday, went home, and came back 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
It was phenomenal. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
I would tell
Virtually in
people
real time.
those days were really difficult, really tough days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was a week or two off.
Well, because I had to change my tie 5 times. People don't think about that.
Yeah.
Well, you
But
know, the thing is,
I loved it. I tell my wife all the time, that's the one that got away.
you know,
That's
when
the one
I
that
was,
run for 20 years.
I was at MTV doing development. I was at Fox doing development. And every time we would talk about game shows, they would go, Pat Bullard, Pat Bullard, Pat Bullard. Your name. That's how the first time I heard about it. It's like, it was always Pat Bullard, get Pat Bullard.
And you know what, Kenny? I fought them for the longest time. It makes me mad because I didn't want to be a game show host.
Really?
And oh my God, I just don't want to. I'm a comic first. That's what I am. Looking back now, good God. When I think of the shows I could have hosted, let alone the ones I did, and loved them.
Well, the thing is also, I will say this, one of the toughest things to do in game shows is finding the host, because it's not really as easy as people think, because you're looking for somebody who can be entertaining and personable and all of those things, but they also have to move the game along. They have to know the rules. They have to, at the corner of their eye, they have to see what all the scores are. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's very difficult.
And
to
I
find
didn't
the
want to
person.
just be a traffic cop, Kenny. I wanted to add something to the show. And in some ways, I think that hurt us, Gary. I think they were, Pat's too funny. He's not about the game. Now
That's
to Steve
interesting.
Harvey. Now, Steve Harvey, when Steve Harvey started hosting and Howie started doing Deal or No Deal,
Right.
people started saying, well, hey, these hosts can be funny. And that's what I love so much about Love Connection, because I was funny. Another dating story, if it gets boring, let's go the direction the guy just mentioned. The guy just mentioned something that he probably didn't say to the producers. And then you go, wow, let's explore that, you know? And we had a kid on one time, and you never saw this on Love Connection before me, just a quirky, funny kid. He kind of looked like the White Prince. He was dressed like Prince, and he came out and his date was a disaster, but he was money in the bank.
Yeah.
It was money in the bank, and they're trying to throw me to commercial, and I'm going, no, we are not going to. I'm not saying goodbye to this guest. I'll go to commercial, but we're coming back to him. And we did. It was one of our highest, the most feedback we ever got was on that episode, because it was so funny. Who cares if he falls in love? Yeah.
Now, I had come off of, like I said, the new Newlywed Game. I remember having a guest, and I said, where's the craziest place you ever, we said made love rather than made whoopee, right? And she said, well, I worked at the dollar store, and we did it in the back room. And I said, well, that's getting a good bang for your buck. That's a good joke.
That's an excellent.
Snip, snip. Didn't make it
Yeah,
there.
of course.
It was an era of traffic cop.
Yes, not today, Gary. Today you do that joke, they stand, they applaud you. The editors go, thank God, less for us to do. That's the way those shows should be.
You originally started, your interest was to be a stand-up comedian. Am I wrong, or correct me?
No, you are absolutely right.
That was your interest, to become a
That
stand-up
was my interest. And what happened, I got into stand-up comedy in Canada. I'm Canadian, at a club called Yuck Yucks, where so many people got their start in. And that was my thing, just to be a stand-up. But then I started hosting shows in Canada. I had hosted a couple shows, and a friend of mine had a great quote. I wish I could credit him, but I can't remember his name. But he said, in Canada, there is no business like show business. And I had reached the point where I was just spinning my wheels. There's nothing left to do here. I've got to go. And if I credit my ex-wife with anything, it's that she believed in me. She said, you've got to go to LA. So doing stand-up, Kenny, around the clubs on the road. I did a spot at the Improv. And as I'm walking off stage, I hear this voice in the dark, just back a little bit. You're funny. And it was Roseanne.
Right.
And that was stunning enough. And I just said, well, thank you very much. And then Tom Arnold was with her at the time. And Tom said, we got to work together sometime. We got to work together. I'd never written a letter, I don't think, let alone a script. Writing was not my thing, but I was in Texas the next week, got a call from Tom Arnold. How would you like to write on the show? What? The number one show on television? How would I like to change my life? And Norm was there, my good friend, Norm Macdonald. Yeah. Norm got there before me. He talked me up to Tom again. And the next thing I knew, I was writing on the number one show on television.
I mean, that is, and by the way, so you're literally thrown into a writer's room and now you're pitching story ideas?
No, if you're smart, you're not. If you're smart, you're sitting back and you are quiet and you are feeling out the room, and then you'll find your way. The worst thing you can do in a writer's room, and that show had, believe it or not, 29 writers.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is try to force your way in. You just sit. It's like anywhere else. If you're smart, sit, wait for your moments, throw in a joke. I wouldn't have pitched a story anyway. I wasn't story strong, but I certainly was joke strong. And just wait and build up your credibility. And then, you're doing it for years and years. But even then on Roseanne, that wasn't what I wanted to do. It just financially was a godsend, but it wasn't what I wanted to do.
But see, the thing is, and this is just based on, stories people tell about, is it didn't sound like a fun environment, that whole Roseanne show.
Very true. In some ways. What happened was, it was like you were prisoners of war after a while. So you were all like the dearest friends, the people in that room. And so, my God, but I'll tell you this too, I liked her. I liked Roseanne. I liked her a lot. I was there for 3 or 4 years, never had a confrontation with her because she thought of me first as a performer, because then I started doing the warm-ups for Roseanne.
Okay.
She wanted me to do warm-ups, so I started doing that. So she always saw me as a performer first, I believe. But the other thing that was so good about Roseanne, and I'd say it if she was sitting here, is, and she's not, by the way, if she was sitting here, I would say, she's nuts. But she'll look you in the eye and say, I'm nuts. Fuck you, I'm nuts.
Right.
Okay, that's a good place to start, because I worked with Brad Butler, who would never admit she was nuts, and she was so fucking nuts.
Wow.
Well, Pat, I'm from Iowa, which is the Canada of the Midwest, because we have that similar work ethic. I never had a goal to be a game show host or most anything that I did, but I took work because I wanted to work, and I tried to do it as best as I could, and it would lead me down paths that I didn't imagine. Was that your case? Because you went on to Grace Under Fire. Well, yeah, guys Girl in the Pizza Place.
I had no goals, Gary. I had none.
Let that be a lesson to you kids out there.
Do not have goals.
Any little bastards who are trying, knock it off, because it's not going to work. I didn't. I kind of rolled with the punches, and I regret it in some ways, but I kind of rolled with the punches. I'm a stand-up, and I can remember doing my first stand-up gig in Toronto, and they paid me $100, and I was still working for the phone company. I was a telephone installer. I was climbing poles in the winter, but I did this show, and they gave me $100. I couldn't believe it for what I would have done anyway. I loved so much.
Well, that was my ethic too, to make a living. But
so you're doing Roseanne now. Have you given up doing stand-up at the same time that you're writing?
No,
you're still working out, doing the clubs.
Still doing the clubs?
My heart was in as a stand-up, and it was a stand-up for a long time. I think I eventually kind of let go of it because the writing just became so overwhelming, so prosperous.
Now, I assume you're in the Writers Guild. You have an agent.
Yeah.
And so he's on the lookout for getting you new shows as a writer?
Yes, but my mentor, Kevin Abbott, is a very well-known executive producer. He was the executive producer of Last Man Standing, executive producer. His first executive producer job was Grace Under Fire. And I had recommended him to Brett. Brett thought we were better friends than we were, I think. But she was always kind of glomming on to me and stuff. And she was asking me, and she was having such a hard time with the writing staff on Grace was having such a hard time with her. Carsey Werner was having such a hard time with her that they would give her anything just to babysit her. So I had talked up Kevin Abbott, who to this day is the best writer I know and the best showrunner I know. She hired Kevin, and Kevin, of course, brought me with him. After Grace Under Fire, I went to New York to do the Pat Bullard show. I did a pilot at the Laugh Factory.
Oh, okay.
And it was, God almighty, these names. Tarkin, what was his name, Gary? NBC, Tarkenton?
Brandon
Tartikoff.
Brandon Tartikoff, thank you. Saw me at the Laugh Factory one night and said, well, let's put a pilot together. Here's $10,000. And we did it at the Laugh Factory. I sat on the stage. There was a crowd of homeless people.
What year is this? Give me a year. I always like to have
it. Was 90, 92.
Yeah, we had just left, or I had anyway, the Laugh Factory doing Comic Strip Live.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I remember you doing
was just doing a pilot for Daytime Talk.
Right.
And it was the way I approach everything. It was funny. It was funny first. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but with me, it was always funny first. And it was a great pilot. Brandon passed, but many people in the industry had seen it. So Bert Dubrow, I know I'm killing you with names.
The ones you can remember.
Yeah. I'm just saying names if I remember.
Do you remember? Do you have a name for your penis? I mean, do you remember the name?
There's a Native American name for it. Should I?
Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?
No. Please, Gary. It's called Hung Like Pony.
All right. Thank you all very much.
No, you started it.
All right, I interrupted your story. You were going down memory lane, pulling out names that you don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, Hung Like Pony, and the reason is it's enormous.
We do not cut this out.
No matter how old we get, I'm sorry, but Peter's jokes are just great.
No,
no matter how old you get, it's just...
They aren't great, but you listen to penis stories. Yeah, penis stories are sticky.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. But we digress. You were saying.
I left Grace Under Fire thinking that was my last writing job. And I went to do my show in New York. That show was canceled after one season. I went back. Kevin Abbott is now running Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place with Ryan Reynolds. I'm on that show, I think, for 3 years. That show was great. I mean,
by this time, though, you've graduated to the point where you're not only you're pitching story ideas and you're writing scripts.
Yeah, and you're writer. I'm pitching stories. I'm writing scripts. I'm breaking stories. Now, after that is, Gary, when I got Card Sharks.
Well, now, okay, but how does that happen?
Love Connection.
How does that happen? Are you just going out for everything? You got an agent?
Well, after a while, you're not going out for anything. You're getting calls, offer only, which is pretty fantastic. So I never auditioned for a game show. It would be an executive producer would take me to lunch in Studio City. Jeff Merkin, you remember Jeff?
Sure, very well.
One of my favorite guys in the world.
I still stay in touch with Jeff.
Yeah, he just asked me to do the show. He loved me on Love Connection. He said, "This is what the show needs."
Yeah.
So it was Love Connection, then that. Then with everything that happened with Card Sharks, or didn't happen with Card Sharks, I come back. Kevin calls me. He's running a show called Reba with country singer Reba McEntire.
And Rich is a good friend of mine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I hope he's doing well. Yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. That whole cast was fantastic. And so I did that show. But again, Kenny, it's like I'm not hosting something, I'll write something because these guys are right.
But what about acting?
I've never been a trained actor by any means.
Training, schmaining.
You know, a trained
I feel
writer.
that way now, Gary. I feel that way now. But I also appeared on every sitcom I wrote in some form or another. I played a delivery man on Roseanne. I was an old time movie star on Two Guys.
Telephone operator.
But it doesn't sound like it was something that.
Oh
was
gosh,
like,
no. I wish. I get so mad at myself that I didn't study it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You seem to be mad at yourself a lot. You said that 3 times.
I kind of do.
You have a
least
great
he's hung
life,
like
Pat.
at least he's
Look
hung
at
like a
the
pony.
flower print couch, everything. You have a great life. Beautiful wife, family.
I have a question. Are you taking questions?
Yeah.
I know that as actors, as directors, I will get a residual check. Do the hosts of game shows get residual checks?
No, I think they buy us out for X number of reruns, Gary.
I've never made not even 14 cents on a game show.
But the script payments are lucrative. They are not as good as they used to be.
Right, it gets smaller and smaller.
Because just nobody's accounting very well for their money. But
okay, I was just curious about that because you are. I assume it's SAG-AFTRA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a buyout. Well, which takes us full circle in a way, because Pat, you and I connected many years ago, probably on Facebook, right?
Uh-huh.
And we've caught up with each other, and we stay, we give each other thumbs ups and things. And I know that you, me, and Kenny, we share a lot of political views and things. What's your take on the world?
Well, I mean, my take on the world, I'm not as knowledgeable when it comes to politics, I don't think. Certainly not as much as you guys are. And I admire so much, Gary, that you've pursued politics. That is admirable. And kind
of like being an actor without training, I
and
just
to take
went into it.
Slings and arrows, but your heart's in the right place and you want what's good for people. I admire that so much on that level. But I can tell you politically, I guess 4 years ago, well, when would it have been? It would have been Trump's first year in office. I so despised the man. I so couldn't stand the sight of him. I would have a visceral effect when he spoke. And I would go to work and I would complain about Trump, and everybody at work would complain about Trump. But I started to feel like a hypocrite because I was Canadian. I wasn't an American citizen. Where do I get off?
Are you not an American citizen now?
I am now.
Oh, okay. Because otherwise we'd have to throw you off the show.
Yeah, we would have to call immigration.
There'd be a lot of questions.
This would be your last show, and we're responsible.
But I was so disgusted by him that my wife went to Oregon with the kids. It was a July 4th. They were going to be gone for a couple of days or something. And I thought, I'm such a hypocrite. I can't complain about him and not do something about it. What I did was I got my American citizenship. I sat down, ironically, on a July 4th and filled out the application. And I thought, well, at some point I'm going to have to get a lawyer because I'm going to botch this. But I'll keep going till I don't botch it. And I go and it's not botched and it's not botched. And holy shit, I've done it. I filled out the application. 6 months later, we received your application. Next thing I know, within a year, I'm being sworn in as an American citizen. And voted for the first time.
Do you get a T-shirt?
So this is
I don't remember what I didn't get very much. I remember
you didn't get a hat or a T-shirt or nothing.
Did you have to know all 50 states and what year?
We didn't send a fruit basket.
You get some swag, some American swag.
I don't know
why.
What year is this, Pat?
I don't know why you went through all the trouble.
What year is this then? After the election?
Trump's second year in office.
Okay, so 2018.
Where I just couldn't stand it. And it's funny because I have a lot of Canadian friends, obviously on Facebook and stuff, who have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. They did the same thing. It's just I can't live here and reap the benefits and not be a voice against this monster. And I'm not flat out against
the monster's going to rise again.
God almighty. Well, then I will get another citizenship.
Yes.
I'll show him.
Well,
our citizenship will be Portugal. If
I'll tell you, this
next
is,
time.
and I don't know when this will air, probably in a couple of weeks or whatever, or whenever I get around to editing it. But
That's our reality. When Kenny's ready.
Anyhow, this impending war in Russia. I mean, this is really like a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
This could be a world war.
Yes. And that's where I become sort of a casual politician. I keep my eye on that stuff, but
right.
Because you should. But I just, now I'm at the point when it was just Trump, I would sit in the TV room and I'd be yelling at the TV and at his image, and my kids would walk by and go, "Dad, turn it off. Just don't watch." And I was like, "Oh no, you can't. If you have a rattlesnake in the garden, you don't turn your back on him.
Right.
You've got to watch this fucking guy." And so now I've kind of learned to turn off the news a little more. Not just because it's
just to bring the blood pressure down.
I think so. And listen, I love Biden. Sometimes I wish he was a little livelier. Those kind of things. But he's a good man, and to me, that's way more important. He's a good man. And
yes, but it's just the thing you have to stay away from. And really want to get crazy is just, Fox News beats and wins in the ratings against all other news companies. Well, and when you listen to them, it's insane.
They changed the paradigm of news to where it isn't really journalism anymore. It's talking heads. It's entertainment.
And the way they talk about Biden, it's
and half of the country. That's where they're getting their information.
In their mind, it's like how we used to talk about Trump.
Right. Well, they've created an ideological civil war. We are in a civil war.
But they're such dirty fighters. They're such, he's feeble. He's 70. He doesn't know what he's saying, the poor man. As if like they care.
Well, the care given who they support.
Trump hasn't had a fucking day where he was as sharp as Joe Biden has been at his worst.
Yes.
At his worst. And they'll say, I say that because I watch CNN. No, I say that because I watch Trump and I watch Biden.
No, I say that because I'm a sentient, rational human being.
Right.
Well, and I have instincts of right and wrong. And
exactly.
Yeah, as do you.
The long and short of it is I'm politically minded, but I get so frustrated by it that I have to be careful. But I mean,
all of us. I think we're in such a standstill. We get nothing accomplished.
Yeah. Well, no matter what. I mean, McConnell. If you wrote a McConnell character, nobody would believe you. They'd say that's the most bogus, ridiculous.
Well, they move the goalpost because when you have no true ideology, you can believe whatever suits your own selfish interests.
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
This may be insensitive, but I don't care. If you were going to cast the bad guys in a movie, you would make them unappealing and unattractive. They are not a good-looking group of people. Mitch McConnell is not attractive by any stretch of the imagination.
Is your hunk,
your hero.
You're in trouble.
I guess, yes, right. Yeah, but he's the best-looking guy you have in the entire party.
But it's ridiculous. Like you just want to pull them aside and say, "Look, stop with the lying. Look at this fucking monster. Don't tell me you."
Doesn't matter. It's called confirmation bias. They will find whatever resource without doing any fact checking confirms their bias.
Can we talk about penises again? I'm starting to get anxious.
And that's the segue. So let's shove all that aside. You seen any good movies lately?
What have I said? You know what? It's so funny too because I'll talk to people. It's even more than I think just a memory issue, but I watch shows. I'll be watching a movie and I'll go, this is a really good movie. I won't finish it tonight. I'll finish it tomorrow, but what a great movie. I'm really enjoying this. The next day I can't remember where I was watching it. I can't. It's not in the dream. The
films you just watched category.
And on top of that, I don't even know what it's called. I just watch.
You're a Prevagen commercial.
I go, hey, I'll watch that. That looks like a good movie, and I'll watch it. And it is. Can't find it.
That's
you
so
think
funny.
to yourself, I'll bookmark it. Yeah. I have the same problem.
Yeah. So in my world, the Titanic didn't sink. Everything's fine.
We won't let you know how that happened. What happened there?
Well, the thing that kind of gets me a little freaked out is that when I go onto all these services and it goes because you watched, and I'm like, I never watched that.
Yeah, why is Hairspray in the because you watched this?
What do you
Hairspray keeps coming up for me.
Who's coming into my house
again?
And all I watch is Get Back over and over and over.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
But have you been? You're in the Writers Guild. I'm sure you
Yeah.
got a lot of screeners.
Yeah.
And have you watched?
Well, I've seen. Used to be so exciting, the screeners, and now they're not as exciting because I can get them before they come.
Now, are you watching them through the app or through the DVD that they send you?
When I do the app.
Okay, right.
But mostly I've just been, because of quarantine, I've been watching just my own stuff on HBO, whatever, however.
Right, it's all there, exactly.
Yeah, it's all there. There's stuff, and I've always kind of felt this way, maybe because I'm not an actor or something, but I watch movies and I think, geez, should I think I was supposed to enjoy that more.
Right.
It sounds like Kenny.
This is groundbreaking cinema, and I should have been more excited by it. I was entertained. I'm not sure what the story was still. They seem very weak on story to me.
Yeah, that's a lot of self-indulgence stuff.
Yeah,
I actually, the one I just watched was Nightmare Alley. Did you watch that?
I have not seen it.
With Bradley Cooper. And it's an amazing movie. It's a beautiful movie. The only thing, and the acting is incredible. The only thing that I had a problem with was its 2.5 hour running time.
Yes.
And it was like, that was a big problem because it was like, great movie. I love this movie. When is it going to be over?
But your tiny bladder would not allow you to.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just that. And now I'm starting to pick up my phone. So I was curious because I knew it was a remake from a 1947 movie.
Yeah.
As to how long the original Nightmare Alley was. The original Nightmare Alley, which, was phenomenal, was 88 minutes.
Wow.
Wow. I can't even do the math. That's not even an hour and a half, is it? Is it?
88 minutes.
I have posted that. I have posted a couple times on Facebook. Dear movies, you are all way too long.
Yeah.
Every movie feels 20 minutes too long, and it's like a self-indulgence. Like, we're so good at this movie that we're not.
Yeah, let's extend it.
You got to stop. You got to stop. Your story was.
Kenny's MO is to put on Facebook as everybody's raving about whatever, and he said, "Well." But I'm not. Wheel of Time was one that was bothering you that people were raving about. And Kenny posts. There's no fucking wheel. Where's it just everything seems to bother you a little bit, Kenny. That's if it's popular, I assume a bad review from you.
I believe there was no dog in the Cumberbatch movie.
Right. There wasn't. Did you see that one? Power of the Dog?
Yes.
I mean, the power of the dog in my mind is he looks at me and he wants a cookie. I have to give him a cookie. That's power.
Yeah, the dog is powerful and you're weak.
Right, exactly.
I have
the dog needs to go out for a walk. He gives me those puppy eyes. He looks and like, wow, this is a powerful dog. I would take my kids out if they looked at me like that. But anyhow, no, I didn't love Power of the Dog. Again, I thought it was slow and boring. And and I think, as Pat said, am I supposed to enjoy this movie?
Yeah.
Well, I liked Don't Look Up. Did you?
I love
Don't Look Up. Okay, that's when we agree. Don't Look Up.
I think people were very divided on that. But
very divided. In my circle, it was
very
up,
entertaining.
but a lot of thumbs down who thought it was contrived or too obvious or not satirical enough or who cares. Or
I mean, it certainly wasn't subtle, but it didn't have to be subtle.
That wasn't the point. It was.
It was
satire.
Well told, and I thought that. The DiCaprio character and Jennifer, they were like me. They were like, "Are you?" Yeah, they were all being gaslit. Are you?
What was the criticism? Because I absolutely love that movie. What
I did too, but people, I think people said it was either
the right wing. The right wing didn't like the fact that they were being made fun of, so they dismissed it as just being too obvious. But a lot of my friends on the left thought that it was. I guess too obvious as well. They thought if you're going to make that point, make it more subtle rather than so on the money that the earth is ending. What do we do?
They found
the Meryl Streep character too cartoonish, but quite frankly, she wasn't any different than the previous leader of the free world.
Rarely done anything wrong in my eyes.
Bottom line is, for me, I really do keep it very simple. I don't analyze a movie like that. If it's entertaining,
Yeah.
and I find it fun, I'm going along. I mean, I love the Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Did you see that? The Marvel movie? No, I know a lot of people wouldn't see it, but it was really funny and it did it entertaining and it was great. And I recommend that people go see it. And normally I hate those movies, but I was entertained.
You know what I watch? Because I don't watch all that. Don't Look Up. I watch documentaries. Obviously, if you want to get back.
Gary, they have saved me during the lockdowns and stuff.
Well, I recommend The Righteous Gemstones.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Oh
so
God, I could not love it more. I couldn't. Danny McBride, whatever his touch is so fucking good and funny. And the kid Adam Devine just comes off. The sister is phenomenal. You know, and you suspend your disbelief that it's an exaggeration, but it is an exaggeration of families we've seen. But I'm
kind of curious. Has it gotten any pushback from the religious people it's making fun of?
I don't know, because how do they argue it? You know, it's only a slight exaggeration.
I don't know.
You know, how does Joel Osteen say, "Hey, what's going on here? This is ridiculous"? No, it's your life, slightly exaggerated, and you don't like it.
Yeah.
So I really
that's the same
that.
criticism Don't Look Up got from the people it was criticizing.
Right. And the other show I will recommend, which I thought is hysterically funny, is Peacemaker with John Cena. Now, I know it's not normally something you would watch, but I'm writing
these down because I forget.
You got to watch.
I have read that other places too, Kenny. People have recommended that for that.
Absolutely, you're going to love it. It's smart. It's funny. It's really, really good. So put that on your list of things to see.
The only other thing I saw was Spider-Man, which I went to the theater to see how they would reconcile three different Spider. I'm not a fan of CGI massive explosions and acrobatics. I'm just not. So it meant nothing to me. My kids loved it.
Yeah.
All right, Pat.
Pat, let's get back to Pat. It's all about.
Let's get back to Pat. What's on the Pat plate, Pat? Pat, what's on the Pat plate? What are you working on now? What do you see in the next 15 years?
Might be bad. I finished Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. I finished that.
How are your politics with Tim Allen? Because Tim's really right.
Well, and I'll tell you what, he is a right wing. He is a Republican. So many of his there's a lot to disagree with Tim Allen. There's a lot, but I don't believe he's a Trump guy. He has even said, "I'm not a Trump guy." He leans more toward Kucinich, I think. Than Trump. But he's set in his ways, and we had to be very careful sometimes writing stuff because he'll take it that direction. And now something pretty funny has become way too political and not funny. So we'd have to rein him in a little bit. But he understands comedy. The man is an enormous star. He's an enormous star. Yeah. His voice alone, people just stop in their tracks. You know, at one time he had Home Improvement, the #1 show on television.
Toy Story,
#1 movie in theaters. A book, #1 on the bestseller list.
And the Santa Claus film.
It's kind of interesting. You see some stand-up comedians, and I know Tim because he had done my show a number of times because Rick Messina used to work for me.
Oh, sure. Rick still
right. Well,
Rick for you?
Rich. Yeah, he was my booker for Comic Strip Live.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know Richard Baker from New York. But anyhow, so knowing Tim and, he's a sweetheart guy. He's a very nice man. But when I first started to see him, and I don't know the first acting thing, but it might have been when he first got Home Improvement. It was like, wow, he can act. Yeah. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
And there's certain stand-ups that, and I don't know whether they're going to getting training or not, or they just naturally.
No, he was a natural. It's a Galaxy Quest is what made me a believer.
Yeah.
Because he stays in his lane, though. He stays in his lane. He knows what his parameters are.
He doesn't have a lot of range, but what he does very well. Very well. And
that's just natural writing. And
I think so. We'd write a script, bring it to table on Wednesday, whatever day we had table read. he'd read it, he'd kind of fumble through it, and then you start questioning the script to yourself. Is this working? Is it not working? You get down on the floor on Monday, and now he's trying to watch, and he's mumbling, and he's missing the point of the joke, and you're like, Jesus, I don't know if we have this, you know. Tape night, like most comics, tape night, on fire, fire, just nails every joke, and even jokes he didn't have that he didn't show us, at least, he would do. He just, like so many live performers, he needed an audience. He didn't need writers watching his lines.
I've witnessed that with great actors. Their process is to internalize, they mumble, and they walk through. On the other hand, the best performance you're going to get is the read-through. That's as good as I get. I've made all my decisions. Unfortunately. And when I get to the floor, I start to forget things.
Yeah.
But I've watched that process of building rather than trying to.
Well, the hardest thing, I think I've said this on every single show about doing sitcoms. The hardest thing is that everybody laughs the first time they hear the joke at the read-through, because they naturally laugh. But then they start to stand it up. Then they have to stand it up the first time for the producers or whatever. And so now you've been working on the material. You've heard the joke 1,000 times already. So then the producers come in and they know where the jokes are. And you have to, as a director, even though you don't think it's funny anymore because it's the 50th time you've heard the joke, you have to laugh. Yeah. You have to phony laugh. And all the writers have to phony laugh. And then when you're done phony laughing and you go back, you have to do the notes and rehearse it. Then the network comes in and you got to do the run through to the network.
Yeah.
And phony laugh.
And you have to laugh.
Yeah.
Everybody has to laugh really, really hard. It's the
those network fuckers, they won't do a phony laugh.
What? All right, but we missed my question. There's Last Man Standing. What have you designed your thoughts around the next
kind
years?
of? I really felt it was probably the least pressure I've ever felt after a series wrapped. Like usually, like, oh my God, where's the next one? What's going on? Am I out of the business? And I called my friend Ed Yeager, and Ed is just a fantastic writer, funny guy. I've known him since Roseanne. We worked together. We just did the last 4 or 5 years on Last Man Standing. And I said, let's not sit around during this break. Let's for a change after 25 years, let's write something. Let's not sit down waiting for something. And there's another young writer, a guy named Josh Greenberg, really bright kid, was on Last Man. And we just said, everybody come up with 2 ideas and we'll meet next week. And I didn't realize they were taking it seriously. or it was
you were drinking.
It was such typical homework to me where I was like, oh, I've got days for the homework. and now we're going to meet on Zoom like this at noon. And it's 11 o'clock. And I haven't written one word of an idea. But I did. I cooked one up really fast. And I'm hesitant to say it. But we kind of lashed on it. And within 3 months, I mean, we've written a really good, funny first draft. It's a first draft. Yeah. But I've never written a film before. That was my first time writing film. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it much more than a sitcom. And I wrote animation for a while, too. Canadian show I did. And animation's really fun to write because you can go off into, the guy can say he's in France. He's in France.
He's in France.
I'm in France, please, with that crazy tower behind him. It's just fun and easy. I really, really enjoyed writing a film. We've got a lot of work to do on it, but I think that's what we'll do. I'm hearing inklings of some other gigs I won't jinx, but
I want to go back to your original thing was to become a stand-up comedian, and you did that for a while. And which I've always admired, because the wonderful thing about being a stand-up comedian is you don't need anything but yourself, and just to be able, you're not dependent on anything. What I do as a director, I can't just be in my house or be by myself and direct people if there's nobody there.
Right.
Or as a writer, you can write, but unless somebody is doing. But the wonderful thing about the beauty of doing stand-up is if you can get time and you walk up there, you can just do stand-up.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? Maybe just like, hey, I used to love it. Maybe this would be a great.
I not only used to love it, I know I would still love it. And I suppose here's the cop out. If I have a cop out, it's this, that I don't do stand up anymore because I had so much respect for stand-up, and I would never go on a stage if I wasn't totally prepared, on my game, ready to play with the audience was sort of my forte, land these jokes from my act. And it's just, stand-up is so good that I owe it that. Yeah. And then as time goes by, I'm like, well, I don't know if I can give it that now. I'm in a writer's room till 7:00 at night. I've got 4 kids. I've got all those things to deal with. Even as I'm saying it now, it's a cop-out. But that's why I never stepped on a stage, Kenny, that I didn't love every second of it. And I was so lucky. I got such a quick start. I mean, I started doing stand-up comedy in 1980. In 1981, I was on the Alan Thicke talk show in Canada. I just ended up doing television. It was so lucky. I can't see it happening these days ever again. I don't know how people get into comedy. Do you? I don't.
I sure would.
You know what? I do. I know exactly how they get into comedy. TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok is how they do it, which you can do at home. But
From what I understand, John Austin Johnson, the guy on SNL.
I don't know if you got the name right, but he's a TikTok star.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. On SNL. He's phenomenal. And I asked Don Roy King, who was on our show, and I said, "Where'd you find him?" TikTok.
Yeah.
That is the answer, King.
But to give his craft credit, he wasn't just discovered fooling around. He put a lot of time and effort into this.
No question. But here's the thing: it wasn't like back in the day where somebody say, "I saw you on Carson."
He just put himself on it.
Right.
But I think about, is there a way to launch my career again? I'm in a happy place. I like what I do. I like my public service. I like this. I don't want to put all the energy that, as you say, Pat, crafting great comedy requires.
Yeah. Because I can do lazy comedy. I see it all the time. That's all I see half the time is lazy comedy. I can do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be part of that.
Or screenplays that are too long.
Yeah.
Rather than,
but the one that it didn't get away because it was never offered. But the one I wanted, the one I really wanted, was Jeopardy. I wanted a shot at Jeopardy.
You threw your hat in that ring, then. I mean, obviously, your hat just goes into
my hat to my agent, who apparently dropped my hat. But that was the one I wanted to at least audition for Jeopardy, and I think I should have. Michael, the executive producer, who got the show, Mike Richard. Mike Richard.
Right. Thank you. It's amazing.
He's a nice man. I've met with him many times and pitched shows. And
was he canceled?
Yes, I was up for Let's Make a Deal, and I was doing a reality show on ABC called Here Come the Newlyweds. So I was happy over there. Then I get a call. They want to see you for Let's Make a Deal. I'm a little reluctant because that's a real game. There's no way around it. But the opportunities I like, just meet and spar with people. It was so surreal. I got a call to go. They said, okay, now Monday you have to go to Beverly Hills to Monty Hall's house, and Monty wants to meet you. So I go and I meet Monty Hall. Pardon me?
What year is this?
I don't know.
Years ago. Monty's gone.
Monty's gone, but it was just before. Who's got it now? Wayne Brady.
Okay.
It was apparently me, Wayne Brady, somebody else. So I go and I meet with Monty Hall, and it's surreal.
Yeah.
We're talking about Canada, and he's got a housekeeper who brings us tea, and it's like, wow. And then he turns on the TV, and he is so enamored with old Let's Make a Deals. He's watching it. He's telling me how to do the show. Do you see what happened here? Do you see that? Do you see why I did that? I had to move over here and do that.
Wow.
I grew up watching Let's Make a Deal, loving Let's Make a Deal. Monty Hall was Canadian. I'm Canadian. So I go another day. They say, you got to meet with Mike Richards, the executive producer. So I meet with Mike, and I liked him. A nice guy. I hear he's not very nice to underlings, which I hate that if that's the case, but very nice to me. And so this is how you'll do it. You'll bring down this guy, and this is a game we do a lot, and we'll probably do this for the network. We'd like you to show them this one and how you handle this and how you handle that. And oh, good job. That's the way to do that. And so I feel ready. I know I'm ready. I'm going to go put it on its feet in front of all kinds of execs and the disgraced CBS guy. It's so cruel how
one senile
Wait,
guy
Leslie
is looking
Moonves?
to two other senile men.
Moonves.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was Les Moonves. So I put it on its feet in front of Les Moonves, and I kill. It was really, that feeling, Gary. You walk out, I kill. Like, I'm not even going to get to my car before they make me an offer.
Right.
So I go back and I see Mike Richards, and I'm getting out of my suit and stuff, and I'm talking to Mike, and he goes, "Hey, really great job, and I'll call you tomorrow after I do my audition." What? What? I'm going out tomorrow. I'm going to put it on its feet, and something was so wrong with that. So wrong that this is the guy who's teaching me how to do the show, and he didn't incorrectly teach me. I'm not implying that. But it's wrong. Ethically, it just seems wrong that he's going in the next day for the audition. As it turned out, they had Wayne Brady in their pocket the whole time.
You turned down, I mean, you didn't get Jeopardy, but would you consider trying out for quarterback of the Green Bay Packers? Because I'm so fucking sick of him.
I'll tell you what, you want to feel better? I'm a Cowboys fan.
Okay, I feel slightly better.
All right.
You got
to
our
make you both feel good.
Yeah.
I'm from New York.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, we're going to let you go because we've talked for a while, and you've been a primer of the entertainment business. You've taught wonderful things.
So you're
forget your goals.
You're the
forget
primer.
your goals. No, but you're a man. You're a person who works because you keep your options open to working, and then you excel where you go, and it replicates. And so you're finding yourself at a station in life that we're all enjoying, but you're still so viable. You're still, hungry in a sense.
You guys.
And if only he was here today.
If only, ladies and gentlemen, this show is done posthumously because
if only he was alive today to hear these kind
Mr.
words.
In the pool
there's
this
so
morning
much.
with a
We
brick
love
tied to
these.
his ankle.
We love these shows to be fun, as this has been.
Well,
But we also love them to be somewhat informative to people who look at the business as a writer, as a director, as an actor, as a producer. And it's just so valuable, these tidbits of information and career paths that we learn from someone like you.
Well, thank you. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I had some ideas in the back of my head that
and we didn't hit any of those, did we?
That's okay, though. I'll come back and we'll talk about.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
We'll talk about Norm Macdonald. We'll talk about.
Well, yeah, we definitely want to talk about that.
That would be fun, though.
Pardon me?
It would be fun to bring you back.
Well,
There are a few people we say that to, but you'd be fun to bring back.
He was one of my dearest friends. So have me back and we can talk about him. And
that would be fantastic. And so I'll look for you at where do you hang at the Commons? You go to the Commons? Okay. Yeah.
Do you still hang out at Starbucks? You still go to Starbucks?
But I don't smoke anymore, Gary. That's when I was on.
You were always outside on the corner smoking.
Oh my God. I had my LA Times and my cigarettes.
Yeah.
And
it's illegal in Calabasas. It's illegal in Calabasas.
Sure it is. You can't read a newspaper
dry.
here.
You can't read a newspaper.
Oh, you meant the cigarette.
Yeah.
Pat, go back to fluffing your pillows and all that. You're.
And by the way, go take your hung like a pony out in this beautiful sunny day. You should take the pony out for a little sun.
I will do that. I can't thank you enough, guys. Have a great weekend, Gary. I hope to see you soon. And
I would love it, Pat. You're
Kenny,
one of my
I'm always
favorite
around
people.
Calabasas.
If you do, you go to the Commons. I'd love to meet you at the Starbucks.
I'll bring you a pumpkin. You bring me a pumpkin.
the Calabasas Exchange.
Yeah.
Pat,
all right.
love
Pat,
you, brother.
Again.
Yes,
good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Folks, thank you so much for watching the Gary and Kenny Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. The more subscribers, the better. We're on all the popular podcast platforms. I won't even bother to mention them, but we're also on streaming TV on DBNA TV. Thanks for watching, and tune in for more stories from Monsieur Patrick Bullard.
Au revoir. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.